Okay, this is a red letter day. Today, or was it? I think it was yesterday. Trump passed his 10,000th lie since he took office. 10,000. This is according to the Washington Post fact checker. It's an entire department that has been dedicated to finding every fucking lie that this orange monkey tells, and he tells so many of them. But it was a personal milestone for Trump, 10,000 lies in his 27-month-old presidency. But the ones he told yesterday were a series of whoppers that the Post calls on a subject that logic would suggest he'd be better off leaving unremarked. And that's family separation, ripping families apart, as the slave auctioneers used to do in the 19th century and the 18th century and the 17th century here on Turtle Island. So Trump, along with that little son of a bitch, the Nazi Jew Stephen Miller, and Mike Pompeo, and now William Barr, put together these, and John Bolton, and all these top flight Nazi high command that worked for Trump, put together these horrific, hideous policies of taking children away from parents for no reason. And now these dirty fuckers have lost thousands of children somewhere in the United States. You know, they are using the Nazi playbook for so many of their domestic and foreign policies, these Trump bastards are. But one place that I would suggest they might pay more attention to that the Nazis did, those dirty fuckers, they kept precise records. They knew how many people they sent to the gas chambers. They knew how many corpses they burned. They knew the names. They knew the ring sizes. They knew the hair coloring. They knew what size shoes their victims wore because they logged everything. Trump and the little Nazi Jew Stephen Miller, it should be Stephen Miller's duty to do this since he is such a hideous fucking character. But Stephen Miller, you should be logging all of this stuff in. Little Jorge Rodriguez that you snatched away from his parents and sent someplace to Idaho, you fucker. At least you could write down the name and address of the people you gave him to. Stephen Miller has a day coming when what he is doing will require some sort of punishment for Stephen Miller. I doubt if there's a Jew in America that has any respect for this little prick whatsoever. But I digress. Trump, who imposed family separation, taking children from their parents, rescinded the policy of wrenching migrant children from their parents after enough noise was made and enough screams were heard across the country. From you and me? No, from the children. However, and this is what I'm talking about, this is where the little Nazi Jew Stephen Miller would come in just fine. There was no protocol put in place to reunite the children with their parents. And if you, and I hope you don't, if you believe these bastards like the recently departed Kirstjen Nielsen, that there was no policy to put human beings in cages, if you are that ignorant of what your president has done, then why are you listening to this program, this podcast? Go the fuck away. However, what Trump is doing now, he's trying to paint himself as the Post puts it, a paragon of compassion that ended these cruel laws in place before he took office. This is a fucking lie. Now, the Post doesn't use the F word. I do. During an interview with Fox News, Sunday, just passed, the orange bastard suggested that his policy of ripping children away from their parents were just continuing practices that were in place under Obama and George W. Bush. We're just doing what they did. And in contrast to Obama and Bush, Trump said, quote, "We've been on a humane basis. We go out and stop the separations. The problem is you have 10 times as many people coming up with their families. It's like Disneyland now." You fucking monster, you. Disneyland, you dirty bastard. You dirty bastard. Oh, Jesus Christ, this man. The truth is, the so-called zero-tolerance policy was formulated with Trump's approval by Jeff Sessions, that little gnome from Alabama. Notice how he is a non-person? That little fucker just disappeared, didn't he? Oh, right down the fucking memory hole. Bye, Jeff. Boop! Have you noticed? The policy that Jeff Sessions, that little traitor's dog, came up with mandated automatic imprisonment, just boom, right to jail, for undocumented adult asylum seekers apprehended at the border, meaning that migrant children would be taken from their parents' custody. The parents would be put in fucking jail cells, and the kids would be, and they were applying for asylum, which is recognized as legitimate by international law as well as American law, until this cocksucker Trump came along, until this animalistic bastard Trump came along, and his little sheep-wearing, rebel, yowl-screaming Attorney General Jeff Sessions. So migrant children would be taken away from their parents when the parents were put into cells and transferred for placement, scattered all around the country by the Department of Health and Human Services. Who runs the Department of Health and Human Services? Yeah, I don't know either. But I do know this, that whoever it is, he or she has no interest in health or human services. No cabinet officer with Bush has any respect whatsoever for the massive departments that they supposedly run, except to run them into the ground. Jesus Christ. So, several thousand parents and children were left with no means of communicating with each other, the parents having no fucking idea where their children are, and of course the children just crying and screaming for their mothers and fathers. Oh, and no documentation to facilitate their eventual reunification if that ever happens. I've heard reports now coming out of this filthy pig's administration. We don't know. We have no idea. We have no idea where they are. How are we Yeah. The Post says this: it was an act of singular cruelty by an administration that has not shied from demonstrating malice toward migrants in fucking spades, right? Neither Obama nor Bush prosecuted policies remotely similar to Trump's. While families were occasionally separated before Trump entered office, it was generally when there was reason to believe the parents posed a threat to their children. Violence, sexual violence, must have been Christians, sexual violence, physical violence, And when the Justice Department announced what it called, quote, a new policy, end quote, that separated families a year ago, officials in the Trump monster cadre justified it as a response to the surge in undocumented Central American migrants crossing the border. And it was the resulting national uproar that caused Trump's about-face. And he now seems to regret his about-face. Of course he does. He's a fucking animal. During the interview on Fox, the Fox sewer this past Sunday, he called ending the policy of separating, he called that a disaster, his word, and blamed it for what he called an increase in migrant families apprehended after crossing the border. In fact, the increase has been close to sixfold, not tenfold, which is bad enough. But it's a testament to the panic among Central American migrants seeking to enter this country and at least a modicum of safety before Trump comes up with another fucked up Nazi-like idea. So Trump caused the surge. Trump caused people to head for this country in larger numbers because people understand in this country, all around the world, that this fucker is insane. That he's insane. In the meantime, the damage caused by these separations persists, and it's not going to stop. These are children who at age 2, 3, 4 were ripped from their parents, and it may take 5 years to get them back together. I mean, it's unspeakable. This is the way slaves were treated in this country, the way Jews were treated by the Nazis. This is the way totalitarian or dictatorial governments handle a situation like this, which is what Trump's government is. But the enslaved people, the Africans who were brought here, forced to come here. What Trump officials said that was like a vacation or something, you filthy pigs. But the enslaved people standing up on fucking auction tables while the white plantation owners bid on them. I don't want the pickaninnies, but I'll take the bitch. I'll take her bull too. But I don't want them pickaninnies. Get them out of here. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.